If anyone ever gloried in the description common man, it was Andrew Jackson, the first self-made man to reach the White House. He was born in poverty of Irish immigrant parents, but enjoyed great success as a frontier lawyer, and at the age of 24 added social recognition to his reputation by marrying Rachel Donaldson from one of Tennessee's most prominent families. 2 years later, the Jacksons were shocked to discover that Rachel's divorce from her first husband was not finalized. At age 45, Jackson assumed command of the Tennessee Volunteers in the War of 1812. They called him Old Hickory because, as his soldiers said, he was as tough as hickory wood. Jackson's stunning victory at the Battle of New Orleans restored a sense of pride and confidence throughout the nation. Historian James Shenton.
Jackson's perception of the War of 1812 had two dimensions. One was clearly a war against foreign intervention. The second was the elimination of the Native American presence in the 5 civilized tribes in what is to be the core of the Cotton Kingdom. When he says the best Indian is a dead Indian, he means that. Don't you confuse him with any other aspect of thought.
In 1828, Jackson, under the banner of the Democratic Party, won the presidency after a bitter campaign against President John Quincy Adams. Both sides engaged in personal attacks. Jackson was portrayed as a gambler and murderer who married a bigamist. The transition of power from Adams to Jackson was marked by sharp contrasts in style and philosophy. Adams was one of the most erudite men in the country. He scorned Jackson's lack of education. With his papers riddled with misspellings and bad grammar, Jackson could have been helped by a newly published book, Noah Webster's First American Dictionary of the English Language. On Inauguration Day, thousands of Jackson admirers overwhelmed the Capitol and ransacked the president's house. Jackson's foes were horrified. His supporters said the common man had found a voice in the nation's most powerful office. As president, Jackson demanded personal loyalty. He assembled a kitchen cabinet, an intimate group of personal advisors, and he greatly increased the spoils system, offering government jobs to his political supporters. The test of personal loyalty caused the major crisis of Jackson's first administration. Secretary of War John Eaton married socialite Peggy O'Neill shortly after the death of her first husband. Many found the marriage unbecoming. Cabinet wives ostracized Peggy.
And Jackson was unyielding and unbending, and he made it absolutely clear that he did not give a tinker's damn what these women thought. They were going to accept Peggy. Why? Because Peggy was the living embodiment of his Rachel.
Eventually, the entire cabinet and Vice President John C. Calhoun, Jackson's bitter rival, resigned. While Jackson toiled in Washington, a Virginian named Cyrus McCormick invented the reaper. Once perfected, it would greatly increase farm production. Jackson's administration presided over the violent removal of thousands of Indians to unsettled land west of the Mississippi. The forced exodus of Cherokee Indians from their ancestral home would be recorded in history as the Trail of Tears. Suspicious of privilege and lacking confidence in paper currency, Jackson gutted the powerful Bank of the United States. Opponents ridiculed Jackson as King Andrew, but were unable to dent his popularity or change his policies. Jackson's 2 terms can be seen as a great paradox. He was firmly committed to laissez-faire government and used the veto more than all of his predecessors combined. But his actions actually served to greatly increase the strength of the presidency. Jackson completed his second term and retired to his Tennessee estate, the Hermitage. And while he had embittered many in politics, his popularity with the common man was undiminished. His place in history as a towering figure of the young American nation was secure.